What are your thoughts on functional medicine? Does that growing field resonate with you? There's a lot of, I mean, we certainly are. I think, in general, I'm a fan of functional medicine, but it is, I believe, there is some controversy surrounding it in the field of evidence-based medicine.
Controversy is good, in my opinion. These are the debates we need to be having. Functional medicine, alternative medicine, holistic medicine. Sometimes we don't even know what we're referring to when we talk about this movement to challenge modern medicine's hubris and arrogance and traditions and dogma. But I like all of it. I think anything to ask big questions, to try new things, I think it's good. I think you look at some guys who've been pioneers in this field. They don't know sometimes what to be called. We don't foster that in medicine. The big pictures, the outside thinking, challenging deeply held assumptions. And this new group of folks, they're doing it, and there's market demand for it. So that's helping mature that field and making it a better, more mature science. It's burdened by a lack of good research dollars to support a lot of this stuff. But, a lot of crazy ideas started off as just ideas that ended up being, now medical truths.
Yeah.
So I like it. I think it's a good trend. I mean, gosh, the number of people that have asked me, do you know a good functional medicine doctor in my area? And then, like in every area, there are good and bad clinicians, right? On traditional, functional, alternative, holistic, you name it. We call our research team the redesign of healthcare. It's not alternative medicine, but it includes that. It's not holistic, but it is holistic. It's not functional, but we support that effort. And there's no specialty, because when you show up at med school, they give you the anatomy book and they're like, here are the organs, pick one. That's your for your career. You're like, what the heck's this? Maybe I'm interested in helping people and the whole person and connecting with them and discovering new cool things in medicine. Maybe we need to spend more research dollars on environmental exposures that cause cancer, not just chemotherapy to treat
Amen,
cancer.
Yeah.
So that's a huge area right now. And we see these signals in the data. And by and large, they've been ignored. But now enough people are saying, hey, well, wait a minute. Why are we seeing high rates of cancer in this one high school? Or goalies that have played on soccer fields made out of used tire rubber. I grew up in central Pennsylvania in a little town called Danville in the middle of nowhere. And that's like 1 million miles away from here. It's like a whole different culture, but it's a coal mine region. And there's actually a coal mine fire that is still going on. It's been going on, 60, 70 years. They decided not to put it out because it's too dangerous.
Wow.
This thing's been burning. No one knows how it started. Someone thinks it was someone was burning trash.
A coal mine has been perpetually on fire for decades?
Yes, underneath an entire town.
Whoa.
I mean, miles and miles and miles. Because the area I come from in Pennsylvania, northeastern central Pennsylvania, they have something called anthracite coal, which burns really, really well, really clean. And so this coal mine has been burning. And I remember going to the mall as a kid, and my mom, would drive down this road near Catawissa was the town. And I'd be like, Mom, why is there smoke coming out of the ground? And she's like, oh, that's the Centralia mine fire. Okay, thanks. I mean, I assumed everyone grew up next to a mine fire. It's like that there was smoke coming out of the ground everywhere in the world. I didn't know the difference. I was a kid. My dad was
That's insane. And people want to change their diets for the climate, It's like that's just like a fire.
A fire.
Raging.
Fire raging. And
it's like when you hear, like certain pop stars, like their carbon footprint or something is like if you accounted for all of the agricultural, factory farming in the United States or something like that. It's like they output that on one, in 1 month of like their global tour,
Yeah, it's like stop watering your gardens in your home because we need to conserve water, even though 90% of the water is used by agricultural, industrial
It's
use or
crazy.
something. So my dad was a cancer doctor, hematologist, leukemia, lymphoma, and he saw this incredible number of disproportionate cases of leukemias and lymphomas that were never normally seen in that region. And obviously, like I can't say for certain, but obviously there's probably a connection with the coal mines and maybe the coal mine fire. And you would think like the NIH would descend on this and like find an association and make recommendations. And it like still mostly is a blind spot of modern medicine because the funding is just focusing on chemo drugs. But there's a lot of those things like that, and enough people now saying, hey, we're making like no progress with cancer. I mean, this is my field, cancer surgery. Like what progress have we made in pancreatic cancer over the last 50 years? Almost nothing in terms of the population of people with it.
My mother passed from pancreatic cancer.
Sorry to hear that. It's brutal. It's a brutal disease. And you probably witnessed that. It's quick. And so there's almost like no good treatments that we have. The survival really has not changed much in 50 years. The surgery is pretty major, almost barbaric. And we need to try something new. Turns out the microbiome has been associated with increased rates of colon and rectal cancer. It's even been suggested to influence the rates of breast cancer. Maybe there's something going on in that chemistry lab of millions of different bacteria. Maybe it's driving body inflammation, which is a precursor of cancer. Body inflammation is highly actionable. There are low inflammatory foods. There are restaurants now that pride themselves in only selling low inflammatory foods. True Food Kitchen. I've seen stores in Austin, restaurants that do not have any seed oils. I mean, when 20% of our calories are coming from linoleic acid and a few molecules that do not naturally occur in nature, somebody's got to say, wait a minute, stop. We got to study these things. So this is the frontier right now. And we've got to push hard. The old guard medical establishment, you saw them in Clearview during COVID, they're all in their 70s and 80s there at the NIH, deciding what gets studied, what doesn't get studied. We've got to push them to say, here are new frontiers of medicine, desperate for good research, and we've got to support that research, fund it, and get going. Like, we cannot be doing research with the red tape that the NIH requires now. This is my little world of research, but people are hungry for answers. And if we don't give them good scientific answers, what's going to fill that void of scientific data are opinions and snake oil and remedies and all sorts of stuff. So we're at a real crossroads in medicine.
If you liked that video, you need to check out this one here, and I'll see you there.